Hello and welcome to Mississippi Insight. I'm Byron Brown. Thank you for joining us. First tonight, 65 years after Emmett Till was lynched in Mississippi, Congress designates lynching as a hate crime under federal law. The bill comes 120 years after Congress first considered anti-lynching legislation.
This bill is too late in coming, but it is never too late to do the right thing. We'll take the long overdue action of designating lynching as a federal hate crime. I am proud to bring this bill to the floor.
Well, the House approved the measure Wednesday. The Senate had already passed it last year, and President Trump is expected to sign it. As early as 1900, similar versions of anti-lynching bills have been brought forth on Capitol Hill. The one to finally make its way through bears the name of Emmett Till. 12 News' Alex Love breaks down this historic vote.
With overwhelmingly bipartisan support, the Emmett Till Anti-Lynching Act surged through Congress, passing 410-4.
I just find it completely disappointing and embarrassing that 200 years later, we're finally getting lynching outlawed.
Too late is probably my best explanation.
It's good that it's being rectified, but it's also a problem that it took so long to be rectified.
While sympathetic for its passing, many we spoke to at the Civil Rights Museum and Jackson State expressed frustration why the heinous act took generations to be fully outlawed.
We have seen grandparents, we have seen great-grandparents that haven't even had the chance to be great-grandparents because they should have happened far, far sooner.
Most of the sacrifices were a lot of people's deaths, like unnecessarily. It was just a hate crime.
For Cindy Wilson, who's from Atlanta and plays soccer at Jackson State, this bill hits close to home.
My great-great-great-grandmother, who was a former slave, and her husband was lynched. I think they would rest easy now, knowing that they don't have to worry that their granddaughter has to worry about this illegal issue that's going on.
Walking through the Civil Rights Museum, you'll come across the hundreds of black victims who died from lynchings in Mississippi. The latest on record, Malcolm Wright, hung in Chickasaw County in 1949, accused of hogging the road.
Because you could just get lynched for anything. I mean, if they felt that you didn't move off the sidewalk quick enough, I mean, it was anything.
Under the law, lynching would carry an enhanced sentence which could lead to life in prison, while also labeled a hate crime in all 50 states. Alex Love, 12 News.
Tonight we are talking computer science. One local company pushing to get computer science into all Mississippi classrooms. C Spire is actively lobbying lawmakers to pass a bill this session. And joining us is Karla Lewis with C Spire to tell us about the initiative. And Karla, thank you for joining us.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Talk about the proposed legislation that C Spire is getting behind here.
The legislation that we have is we're trying to require that computer science be taught, to all students across the state, by the 2022-2023 school year. That is what we're here for. Many school districts, are in the process of are offering these courses and classes already. But our message is that we want, every student in our state, to be exposed and have the opportunity. Currently, less than 50%, the students in the state, are at schools that are teaching, computer science. But our message is we want every student to be exposed so that no one's left out, and there's no one that's at a disadvantage, just because really of the growing need for people with the skills, with these computer science skills, but just in general, we just want every student to have that opportunity.
The legislation that you're proposing, what would this say and what would it do?
So there are a couple things, in the legislation. What it's calling for, is that for every school to teach it, to have the courses. That is elementary school level, is calling for that grade level to really incorporate, computer science into the teaching that's already happening. If you think about, at that level that, most students are technology related, they grew up, in that space. So it's asking for really for those teachers to really work that technology into their normal instruction, their normal computer lab time. At this middle school level, there's work that's already happening in that space to transition, the basic ICT courses to cyber, foundations. And so what we're asking is for that to continue to happen, across the state. And C Spire is not doing this alone. We have a partnership with the Mississippi State University's Research and Curriculum Unit, and they have the great relationship with the Mississippi Department of Education. So that's where a lot of this is coming from. But also at the high school level, being able to offer the AP, computer science courses and other really elective courses that all students will have, that opportunity and it be taught in all schools.
Mm-hmm. Are the teachers in place right now for that to happen?
In some levels, there's been over 1,000 teachers trained by Mississippi State's Research and Curriculum Unit, but we know that there's more that's needed. There are over really 800 teachers just in the middle school alone. So yes, so that is one of the things that we're talking about, as we talk, to really administrators and teachers, about one of the barriers. And one of the barriers is a teacher shortage that already exists, in our state. But what we're saying is we want to work together with them to remove that barrier, because we feel strongly, yes, it'll be tough. To get a computer science teacher really to every school, in our state, especially in our rural areas. But we know that with C Spire, being the technology company, that we are, that we can work to use that technology to bring some type of distance learning platform into the picture to help bring, that instruction and that content to schools who can't find a teacher.
Why is C Spire getting behind this and pushing this? What's the benefit to C Spire to be involved in this?
So the benefit to C Spire, is that Mississippi is not left behind. And that's who we are, as a company. We talk about being customer inspired, but we are very much community inspired. And we've been doing this since 2015 and invested more than $3 million into this. And this is what we're spending money on. So there's no direct benefit to us, but we want to see the communities that we serve and where we live, work and play, thrive, and not be left behind. It also became very clear to us as we were attempting to hire and knowing and going out to our colleges and universities and finding there are very few people graduating in the space, with that computer science, degree and in that area. So it's hard to find them. So we knew, but then we saw, right, that this wasn't just a C Spire problem. It's a Mississippi problem, it's a nationwide problem, that the growing gap in people with the skills to fill those roles, it's just continuing to grow. Right now, there are over 1,000, positions open in Mississippi, and there's over 500,000 nationwide, and that's going to continue to grow, really because of all of the innovation that's occurring across all industries. And that's what's unique about this, and that's what's special, about this opportunity for our young people is the fact that, this particular space, it crosses all industries are innovating, not just technology companies. Manufacturing companies, finance companies, all of them are innovating.
So kind of add to this, create your own employees, I guess, build your own employees here in the state.
Right. And so with that allows us really to if we can build up, our state with students or youth with the skills, then they can stay right here and fill the jobs that we have right here in our state. But if you think about if we have a state full of young people or people in general with these skills, how much more attractive we could be, to future businesses and opportunities, and also have a place, for our young people to go to work.
What is the starting salary for someone who gets into this field, who graduates with a degree in computer science and is looking?
It's great. It's $70,000, and above. So it's a great career, and it's not just a job. It is a career. That's the bottom. That starts the career path.
Thank you, Mississippi, for sending high-paying tech jobs to Alabama.
Thank you for not requiring computer science in schools. Georgia did, so growing companies come here instead.
Arkansas thanks you, Mississippi.
You had the big Super Bowl commercial that you ran during the Super Bowl, really kind of going about how we're losing jobs to surrounding states. How important was that commercial, and what was the message you were really trying to send to Mississippians and lawmakers?
Right, it's very important to us, even though the characters were fictional, but it's real. We have the states around us who have passed, this type of legislation where they do require, computer science in K through 12 schools. So that's our. It was purposeful. That commercial and ad was purposeful because we did want to get everyone's attention that's what's going on, in our state and what's going on around us. So it was very important, and I will say that, and we did just that, in allowing really the public to have a voice. and giving them the opportunity to really to speak to why it's important, to them, and being able to really contact, enabling the platform that allows them really to contact, their, local legislators, just talk about why it's important to them, why it's important to their child or for them in their community.
What's been the reaction from lawmakers so far? When you're talking to them, are you getting their support? Are you feeling that this may move in the right direction?
So that's what we're still pushing for. That is what we're still pushing for. We've worked with them. We've spoken, with the education committees on both sides, just to make sure that everybody, is aware of what we're talking about and what the ask is, and making sure that people understand this is not something that C Spire is going to get a direct benefit from. This is not. We're not selling something. We're not selling a curriculum that we're going to sell to the schools. It truly is about Mississippi, and that's the message that we've been trying to send to them, because there are some who think, that we're here to make money somehow on this. We're actually spending money on this, and I also have committed to spending, more money in the future, given that we can work together and bring about, the technology to bring really computer science education to our classrooms.
So no financial benefit to C Spire by doing this?
That's correct. That's right. That is correct.
And so going forward, what do you hope to happen this legislative session?
What we hope to happen, is that we're successful in these bills pass. That is what we're hoping for, and what that brings, it brings us all to the table to work together to deliver on what the bill states that we want to require happen, within our state.
Do we know what the cost would be to the school districts or to the state to have computer science in every classroom?
So we're looking to fund, and the main fund is in the area of teacher training. So we're asking for this to be a funded requirement, not something. We want this to be on top of what everything else is already allocated. So that's what we're pushing for. But also C Spire, is prepared to still come to the table, with an additional, commitment over the next 5 years to help fund really the distance learning platform that enables us to bring computer science technology education to all of our schools.
Does that mean you'd offer equipment to schools that may not have it or something?
So we will work with the schools. There's some funding, that is available, and C Spire is prepared to fund some of that as well. Right. So what we're expecting is that this bill passes and we do what's right really for our state, and C Spire is committed to coming to the table to help make it happen.
All right, well, we'll stay tuned and see what happens.
Okay.
Karla Lewis, thank you very much for talking to us.
Thank you.
We talked with local lawmakers about C Spire's proposal. We'll have that reaction when we come back. And welcome back to Mississippi Inside. I'm here with Scott Delano, Senator Scott Delano from Biloxi, who is the co-sponsor of the Computer Science Instruction Bill. Senator, kind of explain what this bill is all about and how it's going to help put computer science teaching in all the public schools in Mississippi.
Well, what we're trying to focus on is we want to focus on the importance of technology in our school districts and in our local schools. We're trying to come up with the infrastructure and making sure that teachers are prepared to teach these computer science classes. The part of this bill is to make sure that we have slots available for endorsement of those teachers for these computer science classes to be able to teach them in school districts all across the state.
C Spire is really pushing this. Why is it so important, do you believe, that there's a partnership, I guess, with somebody like C Spire to do this?
Yeah, our corporate sponsors have really stepped up, and in this case, C Spire has provided a great amount of resources and a lot of interest, and that's what we need in our local communities. We need our community partners, our corporate partners, to step up to help our school districts, to help the school districts understand the importance of these technology jobs in the workforce of today and tomorrow. We know that there are going to be so many computer science jobs that are going to be needed, that were needed right now. For every single graduate in computer science, you have at least 4 jobs that are waiting for them. That number is going to grow exponentially over the next 10 to 15 years. We want students in Mississippi to be prepared for that, and we want to make sure that they have the foundation to be able to bring these jobs here to Mississippi so that they can have a prosperous life here in our state.
And this bill's not a mandate that school districts do this, but more like a recommendation or something?
Yeah, what we really want to do is we want to compress the time cycle. The Department of Education has done a great job with setting up standards to help our school districts do this, but I think the purpose of this bill is really going to be able to take this from a 5-year envelope down to a 3-year implementation plan with the help of C Spire and what they've brought to the table and their willingness to go out and get other corporate partners. We think that this is going to be a successful opportunity for us to bring computer science classes to many more schools and many more children across our state.
What's the feeling from your colleagues here at the legislature when it comes to something like this?
Well, everybody's always interested in this, and since it's anything to do with education, it's always a controversial issue. But we know that the need for computer science training, classes, and employment is going to be great. And it's going to, like I said, grow exponentially over the next 5 to 10 years. And we need to be prepared for that. My colleagues understand that, and we're willing to support these efforts to make sure that we provide the best opportunities for our students.
What's the next phase as you move this bill forward?
Well, we have a deadline that comes up on Tuesday of next week. We will be working towards getting a bill or getting draft language ready to be submitted to committee. And then once we do that, we'll take it to the full floor of the Senate to pass it, and then we'll send it over to the House. But this is something that's going to take all the way to the end of the session before we're able to get something done. And I think the important thing here is even if a bill doesn't get passed, this doesn't mean that the state's not moving forward, because we are. We're moving forward, and this has really advanced the conversation a lot, and that's what this is all about to begin with. So the fact that we've got great corporate sponsorships like C Spire in this particular case has really helped us raise that awareness, and that's what we're going to work towards.
You think everybody pretty much understands where we are as far as computer science, technology, and as far as having enough people to work in the field?
So I'm the chairman of technology in the Mississippi State Senate, and I'm not even prepared to know what we're going to need in the next 10 to 15, 20 years. And I don't think any of us fully appreciate the demands of our students in employment in the future to have the very basic needs that are taught in computer science classes. But this is something that Mississippi can lead on. We're a little bit behind from some of our other states. This is an effort to move us forward, and we're certainly working hard to make sure it gets done.
I know C Spire had that big ad during the Super Bowl, and I know some people like it, some people rub them the wrong way. What was your take on that? Well,
let me say this, that coming from C Spire's perspective, I can understand why there's such a need and why they're so passionate about that. That message is great for them in the computer science realm. But in the realm of the legislature, where we have a lot of different issues that we're dealing with, I understand why it rubs people the wrong way. I had no problem with it at all. It brings awareness of an issue that needs to be addressed. The legislature's here to address those issues for the state of Mississippi, and we're also good partners with the Department of Education to make sure that we have these standards and the infrastructure in place for our kids to be successful in the future.
And at the end of the day, it's trying to keep those students here in Mississippi and not going elsewhere to work.
Yes, sir, absolutely. We want our students to have the best opportunities for them to raise their children, raise their families, and choose to live in Mississippi. And probably most importantly, we want people to invest in Mississippi. So we want those jobs to come here, and if we have an employment base that can sustain the jobs and the needs of tomorrow's workforce, we're going to be a more successful state.
All right, thank you. Senator Scott Delano, thank you very much, and we'll be right back. A push for gun control at the Mississippi Capitol, but Republicans say a new bill is dead on arrival. 12 News' senior political correspondent Gerald Harris reports.
Senate Bill 2055, introduced by Senator Robert Johnson, would create a so-called red flag law. Supporters say it's designed to keep and get guns out of the hands of those who may do undue harm to themselves or others.
We are not a gun control group. We support the Second Amendment. I myself am a gun owner. What we do believe is that there are laws that can be passed. There are things that we can do to keep all of our families safer.
On Tuesday, two groups pushing for gun control gathered with survivors and victim families to lobby lawmakers to pass gun reforms.
What we're about is passing common sense gun reform that allows us to all be a little bit safer.
Republicans who control both chambers in the governor's mansion say the legislation is dead on arrival. Lorenzo Neal, a local pastor and son of a mother who was killed by gun violence, hopes in time they can work to convince lawmakers to put the red flag laws on the books.
By humanizing and sharing the stories of persons who've been directly impacted by gun violence, we can help change the narrative and help people see that there is a need for sensible, common sense gun violence legislation.
Extreme risk laws are designed to diffuse dangerous situations while also providing due process. It also involves instituting a comprehensive background check policy. Reporting in Jackson, Gerald Harris, 12 News.
17 states, according to GunsInAmerica.org, have some sort of red flag law. And we'll be right back. Thanks to Karla Lewis and Senator Scott Delano. For Gerald Harris and Alex Love, I'm Byron Brown. We'll see you next Saturday night. Until then, make it a good night.